everyone, and welcome down to episode number 53 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Southern Victoria, Australia. And the guy over on the other screen over yonder in his Ockies hat, it's Cam Blake in Tasmania. Hello, Cameron.
G'day, Brendan. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. It's Brendan, by the way.
Brendan, is it not Brendan?
No, everyone goes to Brendan.
Is there a Brendan? Can you do Brendan?
Yeah, Brendan's very, very common, but I'm a Brendan.
I get called a lot worse than Cameron, but we can't repeat that on this thing.
I think I've mentioned this on the show before. I get called Cameron all the time.
Really?
Because when I answer the phone, camera and photo, Brendan speaking. Oh, hi, Cameron. Because it's like camera and photo, and they just hear that and go, "Oh, his name's Cameron." Then
right. I always thought that it was my name Cameron because my dad was working with cameras.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird one.
Not a family name?
No, it's not a family name. I don't know where it came from. My middle name is a family name, and it's a very, very rare middle name. But
it is. You have a rare middle name.
I do, and that's from my great grandmother, I think, something like that. But but I remember working at Camera House. I'd get Kevin all the time. I get, "Hey, Kevin, how you going?" Or Kelvin, Callum, Kelvin, Kevin. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, after a while, you're just like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it."
Quick story. When I worked at Camera House in Geelong, we had, do we have name tags at Camera House in?
We did. I've still got mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had my name tag. I took it to Camera House at Geelong because they were all generic. And I had this lady come up to me one day, and she looks at my name tag. She goes, "Oh, hello, Bernard."
Bernard. Lucky she didn't call you Brendan.
Well, Bernard.
Saint Bernard.
Hello, Bernard.
Yeah.
How have you been, my friend?
I've been good. Yeah, been pretty good. Just apologies for a week off last week.
Yeah.
We didn't record. I was out hiking a little bit longer than we expected on a trip that got a little bit out of control. So we were meant to be back in time.
This means Cam's got a story.
Oh, do I have a story? God. So yeah, we were out a bit longer. I was expecting to get back in time on the Thursday to record and roll it out last Friday, but it just didn't happen like that. We ended up getting back about lunchtime Friday. It took us about 4 days, 3.5 days to walk 16 kilometers, if that gives you an idea of the trip I've been on.
So the terrain wasn't overly friendly.
It wasn't. You probably can't see it, but I look like a druggie at the moment. I've got scratches all up my arm. I've got scratches all over my fingers. I've got bruises all down my leg. I tore the ass out of my pants.
So you should have seen the other guy.
Well, the other guy actually had his ass torn out too.
Cool.
It was one of those trips.
Right.
And tore a hole in my backpack. It was a crazy trip.
What the hell happened on this trip?
Do you want to hear the story now, or do we want to get into it later on?
No, we're rolling it out.
We're rolling it, right? So
get into it.
All right. So first, I'll give a shout out to the two other walking companions / crazy people that came with us. So I had this idea. There's this spot behind me. So this shot is taken from the walk we just went on. I won't give too much detail away because it's an ultra sensitive location in the southwest of Tasmania. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. But to get there, there's two different ways you can go there. You can go up this Mount Ann track and around and get to it, or you can come up this other, what we call the Northeast Ridge track. We decided that we're just going to go up this Northeast Ridge track and then back down out the same way. And we got going, and it was absolute hell for leather going through scaparia tree, which is what scratches you up. Massive climb up a mountain through a forest, ducking and weaving under fallen horizontal forest. Anyway, we got to this amazing spot. We camped a bit further back down the track, and the next morning we woke up and we thought, right, well, we can just go back down the same way we came, but geez, it was hard. The map looks pretty straightforward if we just go back around the mountain and go the semi-long way back to the road where we started from. That was the idea. That didn't really turn out like that because we ended up doing, on average, on this second last day we were out, how many meters an hour do you think we were moving in this last? It took us a few hours. How many hours, meters per hour do you reckon it was?
It sounds to me like you were probably doing like 1 kilometer an hour or something.
That would have been great if we were. We were doing 300 meters an hour.
Oh my goodness!
And the reason being is if it wasn't rock hopping and rock scrambling through scrub, we were hanging on the side of a cliff, rock scrambling with 20-kilo packs on, scaling around the tallest mountain in the southwest of Tasmania. So yeah, it took us. It took us. We made it. We had to commit. Once we started, we were going, and we got about halfway around, and we're like, nah, this is not cool anymore. This is getting dangerous, and this is not fun. Getting a bit silly. And then to top it off, we were meant to make it down to the road to meet a friend of ours who was going to shuttle us back to the car. We could see him off the peak of the mountain. We could see him driving down the car with his lights on. We're like, well, we're not going to make that trip. And then we got to the last bit before this hut we ended up staying in, and we thought the hut was only 5 minutes away. An hour and a half later, we still weren't at the hut, and we were scaling down almost a vertical cliff in the dark with head torches with about 110k gusts winds.
Right.
Luke, there was 2 Lukes on the trip. So Luke O'Brien, who I share the gallery out at Richmond with, and Luke Uberbuck, who's a friend of mine from Melbourne, or Eberbuck. I can never get his last name right. He'll kill me for that. Luke O'Brien's glasses blew straight off his head just before we started climbing down the cliff in the dark.
No,
that was good. Talking of horror stories.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we got to this hut, and then the other Luke, who's a bit fitter than all of us, decided that he'll push down the last couple of Ks to the road to at least meet this guy to say that we're not dying or we're not dead. I don't know. Have you ever seen the Seinfeld episode when Seinfeld's trying to hold back having a spew for so many years? Like he has his spew record.
Yes.
I broke my spew record on this trip once we got down from this hill.
Really?
I don't know if it was the adrenaline, the exhaustion, or a bit of everything. But I was a bit unwell, and we ended up staying the night. I was fine after I'd been sick. I was fine. It was just everything had to come out. So it was an epic trip. We did 16 kilometers in 4 days. And to top it off, the weather wasn't exactly what we wanted. It was actually probably too good, the weather. We wanted a bit of mood and mist and stuff. This happened behind us for about maybe 20 minutes, but it was full on. It was the sketchiest and scariest bit of walking I've done in my walking career, I reckon.
Wow. It
was bordering on very dangerous. The last descent into the hut was stupid. We couldn't set up tent up the top because it would have blown our tents off the mountain. We were getting to the point where we're looking in crevices and these rocks thinking, okay, we can probably put a sleeping bag in there and just sleep the night out on the side of this mountain in the rocks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nuts. And I don't think I'll be doing that again in a hurry. That's for sure.
Remind me to never go on a hike with you. God damn it.
Well, you've committed now. Guess where we're going? I've changed the route.
That's right. Okay.
But it was nuts, but amazing countryside, like crazy views. But it was just, packs off, pass a pack up, rock climb, look behind you and go, okay, I don't want to go backwards, just keep going up. It was crazy.
So my hot take on that is, how did your camera gear fare?
Well, for the first section, it was getting up the forest and stuff. That was all okay. It was just forest and trees. It was when we started climbing through all the scaparia and bushes and around the rocks and stuff. My camera went in the bag. I barely got my camera out. I took a handful of shots along the way around.
So once you kind of realized that, it didn't become a photographic expedition anymore, it became a survival expedition.
Yeah,
that's when the camera just went, nah, that's going in the pack.
Yeah, I think we stopped a few times. I got out a couple of times to take some snaps, but usually it sits on the front of my bag. But when you're trying to get up rocks and stuff, you're squashing the camera and killing it. So it went in the bag. Yeah, it was crazy. There was hardly any water up there, so we were literally crushing snow into our drink bottles to keep hydrated.
Wow.
And then we found some little lakes and tarns that we were able to fill up on. But yeah, it was survival mode. There was one section where we had to climb up, it was a vertical climb for about 20 meters. And Luke, one of the Lukes was looking at me. He's like, I don't know about this. And the other Luke's like, oh, well, we've got to go back the other way. It's a long way. What do we do? And so we had a few of those moments where we sat down as a committee, and decided if it was worth it or not. But it was full on.
So you kind of reached the point of no return because it was harder to go back than to push on.
Yeah. It was harder to go back, but we didn't know what was ahead. Right. So we knew what we'd been through, and we thought, okay, well, that's shit. we don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and the thing was, we're swinging around this big peak. We were going to meet up with the main track that goes up to this mountain, which is generally a lot nicer and easier, which it was to a point. But the fact is, we were running out of light. So by the time we got to one of the most crucial descents off the mountain, it was blowing an absolute gale. I'm confident it was over 100k gusts.
Wow.
Like it literally was blowing us off the track. I had to sit down on the track a few times and just shuffle myself along just towards the edge so I didn't get blown off.
Over.
Yeah. And then we had to descend. We lost all the canned little markers all the way down the hill. We couldn't see them. So we were literally climbing down almost a sheer cliff in darkness. It was stupid. But, you know.
But you lived to tell the tale. Well done.
Yeah. Well, we got a few nice shots. Definitely got an experience. And it's not a walk that many people do.
Well, hope you did.
Yeah. It's not a walk that many people do. In the little logbook at the start of this book, the last person to go there, there's only been 2 people this year that have gone through that track this year. So it's not frequented much. And I think we figured out why.
Yeah, exactly. It's a toughie.
It was crazy.
Well done.
Yeah. So my ankle's a bit sore. I've got bruises. The other 2 Lukes both lost their voice, which is weird.
Okay.
So I don't know if they were yelling or screaming inside with terror.
Laryngitis.
Maybe. But I feel good. I'm starting to recover today. We've been back a few days now, but ankle's a bit sore, and I've got no fingerprints. All my fingerprints are gone from grabbing onto these rocks, and so I'm trying my laptop here. You put on with a fingerprint to get it going.
What you do?
No, I got to type the password in.
Now's the time to go and rob a bank.
Well, I was thinking I could go commit some crimes and probably get away with it.
Do it.
So yeah, it was a good trip. So how was your week compared to that?
Well, that's all we've got time for on the Down South Photo Show. Thanks for no, that's quite the ordeal. My week pales into insignificance. I did get the camera out a couple of times. I've been out just the local beach sort of stuff, and every sort of half a kilometre there's a stairway that goes down to the beach here in Ocean Grove, and it's sort of what Ocean Grove Beach is known for. So I've been sort of ticking off a few more of them cool. over the week. So I managed to get out a couple of times with the camera, which was good. Yeah. Also had a bit of I suppose a little adventure, not quite up to yours, but so a friend of ours in Barwon Heads. Barwon Heads is the town on the other side of the Barwon River from Ocean Grove. Yeah. Poor girl lost her dog.
Oh. In the ocean. Or in the river?
No. So she had a rescue dog. She'd only had it for about a year. Very, very skittish little, not my kind of dog at all, but was her kind of dog. That's fine. Little Chihuahua cross thing. Anyway, long story short, this thing bolted away from her in the main street of Barwon Heads.
Awesome.
And just took off, gone, right? Couldn't find it anywhere. And then so she put out on social media that she was looking for a dog. And then someone said, they'd spotted it running through a paddock down beside the reserve off an area. For those of you who know the areas where the Juralinga Wildlife Sanctuary used to be. Right. And it's all sort of reserved, bit of farmland there. And so she went straight down there, of course, couldn't spot this thing. The dog's white, like wouldn't be that hard to see, you wouldn't think. No. So anyway, I get a phone call. Your drone, do you think you might be able to? I said, sure. This is on Father's Day, actually.
Right.
So I...
Search and rescue via drone.
We did. So we went and put the drone up and started hunting around. And, Chihuahuas are pretty small. So I had to fly the drone pretty low to the ground. And this was 2 days after this dog had disappeared, by the way. So I didn't hold out much hope for this little pooch. And after flying the drone around for about 15, 20 minutes, a big rainstorm came through. So it grounded me. Yeah. So we put the drone down and then...
So the rescue party was grounded due to weather.
Well, and then the wind came, so it might have been when you were out getting blown off a mountain. But so we had to sort of pull the pin on it, and then a day later we get a text message that the dog had found its way home. Huh. So
not so stupid dog.
Happy ending.
Yeah.
But so that was a little adventure, and put my drone to
good use.
So I never thought I'd ever use it for. So there you go.
I used my drone a few months ago. My daughter threw one of her Croc shoes on the roof. And I used my drone with the downforce from the propellers to push it back off the roof.
Fantastic.
I'll tell you what, I had no hope of it actually working, and then it worked almost straight away. I'm like, hey, I was a hero for at least 2.5 seconds in my
You
house.
could start a business getting, was it a croc?
It was a croc, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
So
it.
they flew off pretty easy, but
Yep.
yeah, that's a good ending story.
Yes, yeah. So it did have a happy ending. Now, your background is from your recent trip.
Oh, it is, yes. This is from
So
the southwest, and
lovely.
yours is.
My background is from Malakuta in far eastern Victoria. For those of you playing along at home, actually Malakuta is the easternmost town in Victoria. In fact, if you look at those hills in the distance there, that's well into New South Wales. So you're looking sort of north up the coast there. That's
Right.
at a little place in Malakuta called Bastion Point.
Yes.
Fantastic little spot. That photo was taken in 2009.
Oh, yeah. So really recently, then that's good.
Very recently. There's a blast from the past, and I've smudged my camera again.
Again, you know, look pixelated again.
On,
Do you clean your hands at all? At least you've got fingerprints.
True. To smudge things with.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little long exposure fun with the tripod, and that's shot on my Cameron. That is shot on my Olympus E300.
Good. Now, you remember a couple of episodes ago, going back a bit now, that you bought a new camera, and there was like this big wow about the camera, and like this big build up for months about what this camera was that you're going to build, and then you pulled out an iPhone.
Yes.
Have you used that at all for any photos?
Many.
Okay.
Many. Yeah.
Have you been selling many?
I've actually sold a few photos that I've shot with the iPhone.
Okay.
In fact, so when was it? A couple of days ago. So I've actually started getting in shape for this overland track cam, believe it or not. So
Shit.
Does
that mean I have to as well?
With a couple of friends of mine, we go boxing on a Monday morning at the top of the lookout stairs. We do
It's a walking trip, not a boxing trip.
I know. But we also incorporate stair climbs with it. So we've got a set of stairs. Ocean Grove locals who listen will know the lookout stairs. There are 74 stairs on the lookout stairs. So
that'll get you about 500 meters along the overland track.
Exactly. So I figure if I do that like 8,000 times, I'll be right.
You'll be fine. Yeah.
So every morning we go boxing, we try and do at least half a dozen stair climbs and do boxing in between and that sort of stuff.
So I would recommend that you start putting a backpack on when you do that as well.
Yes, that's going to be coming. Good. And also, so the reason for this story is because on yesterday morning, I was doing a stair climb and I got to the top of the stairs, happened to have I only had my phone with me because I had a timer on it because we're timing it out front of there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice bit of sunrise there. So I flipped the camera around to start to take photos, and the guys down the bottom are like, you want to sort of get back into the exercise down here?
Get back on weighty.
They had to box until I got back down the stairs. So
oh right, yeah, I know which one you're doing. Yeah, two people box, one runs up the stairs and back.
Correct. So I'm pretty much the PT when we do these things. So
yeah.
I sort of got up there and went, oh, that's a nice bit of composition there. Whoops, better get back.
Meanwhile, there, hurry the bloody
absolutely buggered.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, well, doing training is good, and like I said, the walk we just did was good training. So
I'll put the photo up here. But did you see the photo I did of that bee in my backyard?
I did see the bee photo.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I've said it before, but the iPhone's macro mode is nuts.
Well, Lisa did one out the front here the other day on her iPhone. This little bee was just hanging around, and she put it on a leaf, and then you wouldn't move, and she took photos of it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty impressive.
I mean, you can literally put the lens on top of your subject, and it flicks it to automatic macro mode. And
what do I think of next?
Crazy stuff.
Hey, one other thing I needed to mention that I did just the other day, I did my Cradle Mountain OM Digital Day.
Yes.
And for artist formerly known as Olympus. And I had one of our biggest followers on that trip.
Oh, who did we have?
Mr. Phil McCullum, who had come down from Queensland specifically to come and attend the Olympus Day at Cradle. So it was lovely to meet you, Phil. He took himself a hoodie home for his wife, one of the Hairy Tog hoodies.
Nice one,
and
Phil.
We had a good day. We actually saw something that I've never seen at Cradle Mountain before. And did you think I had a camera on me? No. All the customers I had no camera on me. We saw a mum wombat with little baby wombat. So this mum wombat's walking along eating, and the baby one's hanging out the back, eating as it went along. So they're backward-facing pouches. So it was almost like a lawnmower both ends. And everyone in the group, one of the ladies, Rhonda, she had the big 300 f4, so the 600mm lens. And she just sent me through some photos today. But I've seen babies around, but I've never seen one popping out eating as mum walks along. So, but yeah, we had a great day, and it was good to meet Phil. And He said to say hello to you. He said I'm the better host, but yeah,
Duh.
duh.
Goes without saying.
Yeah.
We all know this.
But yeah, it was good. It was good. Met a few nice people on that trip, so it was great.
Cool.
Mm.
Very good. So we were sort of racking our brains for what we could talk about tonight. And of course, 'tis the season. We are now in September, which means it's springtime officially, according to the calendar. You wouldn't know it here in Ocean Grove today.
Yeah.
I just saw a brass monkey looking for a welder. It's so cold still. It's still very, very chilly down here.
We had snow to 200 meters yesterday.
There you go. So yeah, we've got mates of ours up at Hotham at the moment. And they said it snowed all day yesterday. So.
Yeah, it's been bucketing down there as well. Yeah, so springtime is it's a great time. That's obviously why the little wombats were out, because it's offspring. Offspring.
Well, that was kind of where I was going to start. Like, I mean, although we are essentially landscape photography podcast, I know you've utilised wildlife more than once in your photos, particularly your furry little wombat friends down there at Cradle.
Yeah.
So spring's always a good time. Wildlife gets very, very active, as we all know. So,
it does. Yeah.
Working some wildlife into your shot works for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if you're smart about it, you can sort of find good bits of animals and wildlife around your local areas.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll do a disclaimer: just keep your distance from animals and don't frighten them, and they won't frighten you. We saw on this southwest walk the other day, we saw a snake, big, giant, fat, black one, out sunning himself.
Yeah.
This is crazy. What the hell is he doing at this time of year?
Just coming out of hibernation, I would have thought. We
were looking for places to pitch tents, and Luke is like, "Oh, what about over here?" And he's like, "Nope, not over here, not over here." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "What?" He goes, "Oh, there's a big black," and like he said, he was big.
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, we might go back by the river where we thought we were going to go. Let's just do that." But yeah, it's a great time to shoot wildlife, and all the wildflowers start coming out as well. And
which sort of leads me to this part of the discussion. So you're off to the Flinders Ranges again next week, is that right?
I leave this weekend, yes.
This weekend, yep. Yeah. We're going to be in for some wildflower action at the Flinders Ranges camp.
Hope so. I don't know. Does it happen that time of year? I haven't even looked.
Well, it is spring, so I would have thought so. Wildflowers in general can make brilliant foreground subjects.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got in your background there, you've got the foliage going on, but when you start to get particularly native flowers here in Australia, like your wattles and things like that, which can be quite striking. But in WA, it is well and truly on the bucket list to do the wildflowers in Western Australia and South Australia, for that matter.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Flinders Ranges, and I think we did plan this one not only around no moon, so plenty of clear skies for night stuff, but also hopefully the emergence of the spring and the flowers. So I will keep you updated. Hopefully we do get something.
In southern Australia, mainland Australia in particular, being one of the wettest winters on record, I could only imagine that you're going to be in for some pretty cool, a bit of a show as far as the wildflowers are concerned.
It would be good. And I looked at the weather forecast for the week we're there. Geez, it's terrible. 25, 26 degrees every day, sunny.
You won't know yourself.
Oh, I might have to pack some shorts.
You might have to pack some sunscreen.
I might have to take sure my hat there. I don't get a red noggin. But we're looking forward to getting up there. Hopefully, be good if we get some color up there on the flowers and stuff. So
and you'll find. I mean, I've seen photos out of WA during the springtime where the color's almost too much, like it's turned up to 11. You've got to, particularly if you combine that with a cracking sunset.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You can have wildflowers, but then you need something else to go with it.
Yes.
So that's where that start of the day or end of the day works really well. And I'm just looking up the wildflowers. You can see.
So if you were looking for and we talk about composition endlessly, but if you're looking for a solid composition when it comes to wildflowers, generally speaking, and I suppose it depends on the size of the flowers as well. So if you get the little small, like the carpet of them, that in itself is the photo. But if you want to isolate individual flowers and stuff in your foregrounds, is that something that you're into?
Yeah, absolutely. I use, and this is where like the Tassie stuff, like this pandeni here, sometimes they grow quite small. And where we were the other day, they had what's called pineapple grass, which is like a small, funny, it looks like the top of a pineapple. And I don't think you can see it on my shot, but all the little bits and pieces of flowers there or scopari are actually frozen. So yeah, definitely. If you've got something that's colorful, like a wildflower, you can certainly use that wide angle lens to your advantage. And, getting in nice and close, you can actually make that foreground really pop. And color really does actually help lead you through your shots as well. So, if you've got an avenue of flowers or a riverbed of flowers or a paddock of flowers, you can actually make that work quite well. So yeah, definitely look for that. Like anything that's foreground interest is what we're looking for. And then again, if it's springtime, like we're talking, it's springtime photography, then having the flowers there sort of automatically dictates what time of year the photo's taken, and then you can put it in your calendar for September, October, November.
Yeah, for sure. Which sort of harkens back a little bit to what we talked about. I don't know, it was last episode or 2 episodes ago about focus stacking.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you know it, my algorithm has started delivering me focus stacking tutorials on YouTube and stuff. Well, what a surprise!
I know. Is it like they listen or something?
And it's really interesting, there's a bit of a divide about focus stacking in the community. So, for example,
Don't get me started.
James Popsis, who we've spoken of before, and one day will be on this show. Mark my words, James, whether you like it or not.
Have we asked him?
He has a video entitled "Why I Never Focus Stack My Photos." Now he's similar to you and to a lesser extent me in that shoot at f16, mate.
Yeah, that's right. And we had that conversation the other day on there about it's the cameras. Everyone says, "Oh, you just focus stacking the cameras." It's actually focus bracketing.
Yeah.
So what it's doing, it's trying to find that one sweet hyperfocal distance. But people have taken it to another level where they're now just stacking things together. And I still don't get it. We've had this conversation on the walk we just had, and I don't get it.
You know Nick Page?
I know Nick. I don't know him, but I know of him. Yes.
Yeah. So he's a fantastic YouTuber, and his tutorials are really good. And he's got a whole tutorial about focus stacking. Now he makes the very valid point. Now, sorry, folks, we're talking about focus stacking because the topic of wildflowers has come up, and quite often you might want like a bunch of wildflowers in the foreground, but you might want the mountains. So if they shot behind Cam's obviously isolated his foreground because he's used. I'm going to take a stab at around f4, something like that, for that shot. Cam, is it? Thank you very much.
That's spot on.
Because you can see the background's out of focus, and your mid area is in focus, and your foreground's slightly soft, which is great. It works really well for that shot. Had that shot been focus stacked, Cam would have taken a photo, focused, so locked off his camera on a tripod, set his exposure to manual, so the exposure was the same all the way through the shot, and then basically chosen different focal points, 4, 5, 6 different focal points through the shot, right back to the mountains behind him. And you can see the mountains now are completely blurred out, which is great because it brings your eye right back to those pandani in the foreground, which is your main subject. So Nick Page was talking about doing shots like this. Okay, why not just shoot at f16, f22? And he made a very valid point, and that is that lenses generally are nowhere near their sharpest at f16 and f22, particularly not f22, but at f16. Even high-end L series lenses and even the artists formerly known as Olympus, their Zuiko lenses have been known to be a wee bit soft at f16 and f22. So there is a valid point there. It depends, I suppose, on just how sharp you want the image to be.
Well, it really should depend on what you're doing with the image as well.
That's right.
If I had $1 for every time I've heard people about focus stacking, if I want to do focus stacking because I want that foreground to background, crisp, sharp all the way through. And my next question is, okay, how do they print? Do they look good? Oh no, I just put them on Instagram or Facebook or a hard drive. So if I can compress this shot behind me down to 300 by 300 pixels and everything looks sharp.
Yeah, that's right.
It's one of those fads that people have been sort of bought into as to a feature that they like.
Yeah.
I think for macro photography, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it works really well, but yeah, I think, f16, f22, they're not traditionally the sharpest part of the lens. But again, it's, if you can get sharpness from foreground to background, generally it's pretty good. Like you'd be searching pretty hard to find those soft spots on most shots. And if you print them out, a lot of that softness is probably going to disappear into the paper you're using. And
I kind of get it. I mean, I understand why people like it. I've never focus stacked an image in my life. But I don't know, for some reason I kind of want to try it just to see what it will do for, Okay, so we're talking about the stair photos that I take, which are really, really popular in my shop. Because people connect with the stairs. Oh, what stair number is that? Oh, that's 9W. Oh, that's the one we hang out at. Oh, great, I'll buy that and put it on my wall.
Yeah.
Particularly, people are visiting the area. But 9 times out of 10, it is shot at f16 because I've got, here at Ocean Grove, we've got a bay around to the bluff at Bowen Head. So that's background subject, if you like. So, I like to have everything from the stairs at my feet all the way through. So I just shoot at f16.
Yeah.
But if I enlarge that up to quite a big canvas, you can start to see, well, it's not as sharp as you probably thought it was.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if there's any change at all if I focus stack it in terms of marketability of the image, but also just the look and feel of the image in itself. Like, is it going to, does it make it better? And I doubt that it would.
The ones that always strike a bit of a chord with me are those ones that you see from Patagonia. And they got something big in the foreground and the massive mountains in the background. And you can tell it's focus stacked and it's probably blended. And it just looks, to me, I reckon it looks a bit unreal because our eyes don't have that much depth of field, really. No, so if we're looking at, the Pandeni next to us here, if I look at that, then naturally everything else is going to be blurred around anyway.
Yeah.
So I think people really do buy into this, everything needs to be sharp from front to back argument way too much. I think if you're spending that much time trying to get stuff front to back sharpness, and you don't realize that you can probably achieve the same thing 98% of the time by just using the right aperture.
Yeah.
Then I think you're missing the point a bit. But each their own. We're not controversial on this show.
No, never. But more importantly, we're not robots. And if you want to try something different, go ahead and try it. Give it a go. It might be your thing. You might discover that it's absolutely your thing. And we've talked about focus stacking being really useful for macro. I can't see any reason why you wouldn't focus stack with macro. But for landscape, it's interesting. It's not everyone's cup of tea. We've completely gone off the rails here with our springtime talk. But the other point I wanted to make about springtime.
Is that what we're talking about?
The other thing I want to make about springtime is particularly if you live where Cam does, or if you're in Victoria or New South Wales, you've got high country, the snow melt happens and we get waterfalls going off left, right, and centre and babbling brooks and all that sort of stuff. So it can really add to the atmosphere of your photos when you've got a lot of water coming down those creeks and rivers.
Yeah, and the thing is also, I think what's nice about springtime is the AFL finals.
Yes.
How's your? No, I won't go there.
No, and you know why you won't go there.
I know why I won't go there. I was going to say, I think the good time about it is obviously AFL finals, but the days get a bit longer, the days get a bit warmer. Yeah. You get a bit more time to go out and explore and shoot without it being stinking hot or freezing cold. So it's a really good time of year to get out there, and everything comes to life in spring. Like I said, all the flowers, the animals.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I even look at the calendar when we go through the winter solstice, and it's like, which is around the 21st, 22nd of June.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, all right, here we are. Now we've turned, that's the tipping point where the days are now starting to get longer instead of shorter.
We're on the home stretch now.
When we get to about now, like mid-September, well, we're starting to get close to the spring equinox, and that's when things really start to happen. So
there's nothing better when you, and again, we're not a footy show. There's nothing better when you see the finals footy on TV and it's at the MCG and it's sunny and it's 20 degrees.
Yeah,
it's a great time of year. I love it.
The cut grass and all the smell of the cut grass.
It used to always remind me, like, oh crap, preseason cricket's coming. I'm in for another year of coming off 20 yards and doing whatever. But
I just, it just puts a pep in your step when you get that sun on your back and you feel it, as you say, the low 20s temperatures that people down south here put up with. I know we've got some listeners up north in Queensland, like Phil, was it?
Yeah, Phil. Yeah, Phil's up that way. He'll be. So he was actually taking layers off at Cradle Mountain the other day. He goes, I can't believe how warm it is down here. It's crazy.
So. And also our northern hemisphere listeners, sorry to make you jealous, but we're heading into the good season, and you're about to start heading the other way.
Yeah. Hey, do we need to mention the Queen's passing? That was pretty sad.
That was look, not unexpected. I mean, she was 96 years old, but she's
pretty old.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it as the only monarch we've ever known, in our lifetime, it was pretty impressive. I'm not a royalist, but I get it and I understand the pomp and ceremony and the tradition and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, no, it's pretty.
R.I.P.
Yes, absolutely, and it's amazing. Like it's just we actually didn't know we were on the mountain, and we got I got a message from Lisa on my little GPS thingy, and she said the Queen's dead, and I thought I can't believe she's watching the Game of Thrones without me. How rude! And then I went, oh no, the Queen.
Yes,
And
that's
I went,
right.
wow. So
Well,
yeah, so it's pretty sad, but
we'll put a link to your Queen story in the bio.
we'll put tag that in if you want. That's a good
We
one.
will, yeah, for sure.
So
of course, as per usual, we're running over time. We're going to leave that other topic for next week, Cam. So
good idea.
It's time for tip of the week. We need a little sting. Tip of the week, bang. No. Maybe we'll get someone who's got a singing voice to sing it.
Hey, before you go on the tip of the week, sorry, I need to be rude and pop in. I think we need to give a shout out to the other podcast that's trying to be like us, which is the Matt and Tom's Excellent Adventure podcast. Okay. We got a shout out on that podcast.
Did we?
We did, yeah. So apparently Matt, who's I imagine he's the beauty of the whole thing. I don't know about the brains, but then there's Tom, and I don't know if Tom's. I don't know. I can't figure out who's who there, but I think there's a little bit of jealousy going on there. That
who's in that podcast? Who's me and who's you?
Ooh, I reckon you might be Tom and I might be Matt. I reckon.
Okay, all right. Well, I haven't met Tom, but I have met Matt. So
yeah. So, but anyway, they gave us a shout out, and Matt was a little bit jealous that Tom and I are sort of doing a few things together, and that this podcast are going well. So there's a little bit of jealousy going on there. But they did give us a shout out, and I do believe the words easily the best podcast photography show in Australia was mentioned a couple of times by them. So
very nice.
A shout out to them if they're listening, which obviously Matt is. So
very kind.
Back to your tip of your week.
Tip of the week, just a real quickie. Cam was mentioning how blustery and windy it was, so photography was out of the question. However, if you find yourself
life was almost out of the question.
That's right, and you want to keep taking long exposure photos like the one over my shoulder there, weighing down your tripod can be a really simple thing to do. The way I do it is I actually hang my camera bag off the bottom of my tripod, because quite often there's a couple of lenses in there. That just adds a little bit more, even more stability when you're out shooting with your tripod in windy conditions.
Do you have a little hook off your tripod?
I don't.
No, neither do I.
No, some
so how
tripods
do you hang your bag off?
So the design of my tripod, it's not here, but it's in my van, so I can't even show you. But the design of my tripod, where it has the little clips that you push in to make the legs go out further, you can actually hook stuff there pretty easily.
Okay.
Particularly if you've got a strap of a camera bag or something like that. One time, speaking of Ockies, I used an Ockie strap and a rock to anchor down my tripod one time as well. So that can be really useful as well. So what I'm getting at there is long exposure times in particular. Just a millimeter of movement can completely talk about focus.
That's right.
It'll be over.
Yeah, another good thing you can do, talking about weighing down your tripod, it's something I do. I don't weigh it down as such. Usually the camera's enough for me, but I create myself as a human shield from the direction of the wind's coming, unless it's coming straight on. So I try and put myself in line with the wind to stop any of that buffering happening that you're talking about, that sort of millisecond of movement.
Yep.
So that's a good one to do as well. But yeah, weigh your tripod down. For you guys that are still shooting DSLRs, that comes naturally. With what's on top of your tripod, but even I've even put little rocks around the bottom of my tripod to try and help it stand still. So that's a good one. It's a good little tip.
Nice. Okay. Dear Cam,
where's the jingle?
Can I be bothered editing in jingles? Probably not.
Do you edit these too?
Morning, gentlemen. Morning somewhere.
Evening.
Wonderful show, thanks. Your competition and the very worthy winner
was a good winner.
Prompted this question. I am an ancient person. Right. I'm an ancient person who moved from Micro Four Thirds in brackets Olympus years ago for the size and weight and the quality of the glass. Who moved to Micro Four Thirds, beg your pardon. For the size and weight and quality of glass. I also have a natural bent towards the 4/3 aspect ratio, or even 1:1 from my 120 roll film days.
Yeah, cool.
I like it. However, I now display all my old and new images on a 16:9 widescreen, attached to a network storage unit. Okay, I'm with you.
Yep.
This is forcing me to rethink composition when shooting. I'm wondering how the professionals deal with this. Why the hell's he asking us then?
Yeah, no, wrong show.
Go and ask a professional, mate.
Yeah, it's it.
do you shoot with the final format in mind?
Mm.
Do you shoot multiple compositions of the same subject for different presentations? I would love to hear your thoughts on the issue. Regards, Ian Reed. Hello, Ian. Thanks for the question. Thanks for tuning in. Cameron, the floor is yours.
That's a really good question. Yeah, look, Micro Four Thirds have the 4:3 ratio, which is a bit different to the 2:3 ratio, I think, which is the normal full frame ratio. I do also love the 1:1 ratio from the 120 film days. Sometimes I'll shoot like that purposely. But I reckon what I do, I generally shoot in the natural ratio of the sense that I'm using. But every now and then I might swap into a 16:9 format, just because I like to do a lot of panoramas or a lot of shots at that ratio. But I don't think I necessarily shoot with a final frame in mind or a ratio. But I think some scenes just present themselves where you think, okay, that's going to work really nice as 16:9. And sometimes when you've got a bit too much sky and foreground, when you're editing, I'll go, oh, you know what? There's a bit too much empty space at the top or the bottom. Let's just letterbox it out and sort of cut it out without losing any major details. So I guess subconsciously we do shoot with some sort of format in mind, but I don't think it's many different formats. I think 16:9, 1:1, and I like doing also the old X-Pan. I think it's 65:24 format, which is a real bit more of a skinnier format. They're probably the three I use. I don't shoot multiple compositions in regards to that same subject. So I wouldn't say, right, I'm going to shoot this as a square crop and then I'll shoot that as a 16:9 and then readjust. I generally just shoot the scene and come up with that later on. And sometimes you'll know when you shoot that you'll come back to your computer and go, yep, that's going to be a square crop or that's going to be a 16:9. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get back to your computer and you think, yep, that's what I shot it at, but it's not working. I think I need to do something else. So I would say as a practice, probably keep shooting in your normal format, but play around with a couple of standard ones like the 16:9 or the square crop, and then you'll get a bit of a feel for your shots as you start editing, which ones work and which ones don't.
I really, there goes my voice. I really like Ian when he mentions square ratio, 1:1. Yeah. Can be a heap of fun, 1:1 ratio. I actually find it quite a challenge to shoot in 1:1. It does help your composition a lot because you've really got to be picky with what you leave in and what you keep out. Yeah. So, for example, the shot behind you, Cam, the little Pandeni there off your right shoulder, that'd make a pretty cool square crop. With that Pandeni sort of bottom left-ish, that'd make a pretty cool square crop. You could almost cut that photo clean in half and have a good square on either side. So
you could. How the hell did I get out of this picture without meaning to?
You did well. I like it. Good stuff.
Yeah. The other thing as well on that as well is even if you can shoot in ratios in your camera, but what it does, it still gives you the full raw ratio.
Yes, that's right.
So
it gives you the full sensor. Yeah.
That's right. So even if you want to, you can say, right, I'm going to shoot 1:1 all day, like I'm shooting on some old 120 film, and you can shoot that way. But when you get back, your raw file is still going to have all the detail of that full sensor.
That's right.
So you can go either way. You can say, right, I'm going to shoot a bit different today and shoot in a ratio only.
Yeah.
Or you can shoot normally and then fix it up later on.
Yeah, we should run a competition down the track for square landscapes. That'd be pretty cool.
Maybe why don't we do it next month?
Well, sure. Let's do that next month. Done.
Okay.
We just make decisions just like that on the fly.
No, it's not. It's in the running sheet, isn't
it? So one thing I will say though, Ian, if I can switch it to a Dear Brendan for a second, is when you're shooting in peculiar aspect ratios. So when you're going away from your 3:2, just keep in the back of your mind when you're printing photos. If you're just going to go and get a heap of photos printed in a 6:4, for example, that's a 3:2 ratio. If you've got squares, if you've got 16:9 crops, all that sort of stuff, aspect ratios, you are going to get areas of white on your paper. You might have white lines either side if you're doing a square, or you might have white lines top and bottom if you want to print on standard photographic sizes, 6:4, 5:7, 6:9, etc. Of course, most places, including camera and photo, will print your photos square if you want them to, but generally speaking, you will pay a premium for that kind of service because it's a
Yeah.
paper change and all that sort of stuff. So just bear that in mind. If you're printing your photos, if you
Yeah.
plan on printing your photos, my opinion would be shoot in, as Cam said, use the full resolution of the sensor. If
Yep.
you've got a 3:2 sensor, use it in 3:2. If you've got a 4/3 sensor, shoot in 4/3, and crop after the fact.
Yep.
Yeah, because then you're not missing out on anything. You're putting your eggs in all baskets.
I think just as much as that you
Completely
might
the wrong analogy, anyway, doesn't it?
eggs in someone's basket.
I don't know.
I think if you look at that as well, that okay, you might say, right, I'm going to shoot. That looks really good as 1 by 1, and then you get back to your computer and go, oh, okay, it's not going to look like that. Well, the same can look the other way around. You can say, oh, I'll do this nice big vista, but oh, hang on a sec, there's a little square bit out of there. So I think if you don't tie yourself down to a ratio, it opens up all the options for you when you're editing. And then you can always crop down. And with the sensors these days, you can crop pretty heavily and still retain all the resolution or some of it. So yeah, that's a good question.
Absolutely. So there you go, Ian. Hopefully that has answered it for you, or probably, as we normally do on DearCam, confuse it even more.
If you, I was waiting for it.
If you have a DearCam question, please send it in to us. Send it through our socials. I'm building a website for us, so
No, you're not.
that
Surely
should
not.
be up and running by 2027. So
yeah, when we get the next king.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a website where all of these resources will be in one place. So when the YouTube clip goes up, when the podcast goes up, it's all there. It's all clickable on one page. It will be the downsouthphotoshow.com.au probably, but maybe just a .com. Who knows? Whatever.
All right, I'll look forward to hearing that.
Yeah. I'll not even going to review it with you. I'm just going to put it up.
Good on you. Why not?
So what's coming up? I know what's coming up for you, you lucky bugger.
Well, I'm just looking at what's coming up for you. You're not too bad either, are you?
True.
Yeah.
But you know, I see your Flinders Ranges.
So I'm off to the Flinders Ranges on Saturday, or head off over that way Saturday.
Yep.
For a week, which is going to be really cool. I want to give a quick shout out to the young guy Oscar, who I've been teaching for the last few months. He's heading off to America. Lucky little bugger. Him and his family are heading off to America. He's actually downloaded our Down South Photo Show episodes to listen to on the plane. So how good is that? We'll be into it. Make sure when you get over there that you spread the word, mate, that you tell anyone in New York you come across, have you heard about the Down South Photo Show? Right. He's going to B&H Camera Shop in New York.
Oh, he needs to have some merch when he goes in there.
I think so. It's too late now. Maybe he can just go in there and just drop our name everywhere. That'd be good.
Yeah, nice one.
I've also just put together my 2023 calendars. They're available on the website. And we have just announced that we're putting Tom Putt and myself are putting our Cradle Mountain book out to get printed very soon. So we have a book coming out for Christmas that's on Cradle Mountain in the Overland Track.
Fantastic.
It's 100 pictures each. It's a big 30 by 30 big coffee table book. Going to look fantastic. The images in there, well, I'll say it, they look awesome, but that's being a bit biased. But that is also on the website. If you want to check that out, we'll put some details in the links below.
Can you put me down for a copy, please?
I can put you down for a copy. Absolutely.
And I have it autographed by both of you.
Yes, we thought about that after the point. We're like, what about if both people want us to sign?
That's right. You're going to have to ship it from you to him.
No, we're gonna have a signing day at Chadstone.
At Dimmicks.
At Dimmicks. Are they even around anymore?
Borders.
Angus and Robertson.
Angus and Robertson. That's right. Yeah. I don't know if they exist anymore. Probably not.
So my Flinders Ranges are good. Shout out to Oscar again and the calendar and the book, but that has nothing on what you're doing.
Well, I am off to New Zealand. Now, the thing is, I might not be off to New Zealand, and there might be another podcast episode in between because I'm not going until the end of September. But
have you jumped the gun?
Well, you might not be able to do a podcast, so we don't know.
That's
we'll play this by ear.
I can probably do one.
Yes, okay. Well, we'll work that out. But I'm off to New Zealand at the end of the month. I am really looking forward to it. Need some R&R, 10 days over there. We quite often visit my brother who is in the North Island just out of Napier, and he has got some gorgeous stretches of beach. He's got everything there. It's actually, Napier's a great area of New Zealand because it's way down the pecking order of where tourists generally fill up the tourist hotspots. Well, the North Island in general is a little bit overlooked, given that
Yeah.
all the action happens down around Milford Sound, Queenstown.
Yeah.
Mount Cook is all in the South Island, but where my brother is, he lives literally, his property is on the Tuki River, which is fly fishing mecca in New Zealand. There's old bridges there. There's beautiful farmlands. There's sheep.
Yeah, really in New Zealand.
And we go fishing, and it's brilliant. So I'm looking forward. I will take some photos, there's no doubt, but
you better.
It is more of a rest and relaxation thing before the absolute craziness that will be November, December comes around. So
yes, it will be. It's getting here. Christmas will be here before you know it.
Oh, you had to say the C word, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. Hey, do you know our good old friend who lives in WA?
Yes.
I think he was from Napier, wasn't he?
He's from that area, yeah. And
he's from that area.
In fact, where my brother's beach batch is, his beach shack, as a batch as they call them in New Zealand, is at a place called Waimarama. And our friend from Perth has spent quite a few years of his formative years on the beach at Waimarama. So
g'day to our friend in WA if you're listening.
He knows the Hawke's Bay. So it's Hawke's Bay.
Hawke's Bay, that's the one. Yes.
Yep. So the Hawke's Bay Magpies is the local rugby team. So he's all about them. So, but very much looking forward to that. So I think we better call it a wrap. This episode's gone way too long.
Has it? How long?
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure. It's probably only going about 45.
But you know what? It's almost 53 minutes.
We do that a lot, don't we?
Hey, the 53
subconsciously.
53 factorial.
Yes.
Have you heard about that one?
Yes, it's one more than 52 factorial.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But it's so much more than just one more.
That is more. Hey, you know what? I got corrected on the weekend by our friend Phil about Mount Nung.
Yes.
I still can't pronounce it, but he pronounced it correctly, and I clearly didn't.
Yeah.
So
right. He told you how to do it.
He did tell us how to do it.
And you've already forgotten.
Yep.
That's fine. That was one of the Glasshouse Mountains, right?
It was one of them, yes. Mount Nung. I think it's Nung.
Funnily enough, it still is, but there you
go. God. This has been one for the ages.
All right, you enjoy your trip.
Thanks,
Travel
mate.
safely to Flinders Ranges. We'll probably touch base from there. We might even... Would we record an episode from...
I think the fact that we did one from Cradle Mountain the other day on my little laptop here, I think it'll work. So
I think it'll work very well. I'm looking forward to it. I actually genuinely, sincerely mean this. I wish I could take the week off and come with you. It sounds like it's going to be awesome.
Well, I just did a quick Google search, and 4 minutes ago, would you believe, there was one put up about the wildflowers starting to come out. So
there you go. So they came out 4 minutes ago. That's
just like spring. Here we are. It's there.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 53 of the Down South Photo Show. We will see you for episode 54 next week. Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.